24 and a half hours in. The Nets are adding guard Patty Mills, a steady presence off the bench for the Spurs. For a decade, he averaged 11 points per game last season. Brooklyn also keeping Bruce Brown and signing James Johnson. Andre Drummond is going to Philly. Woj reporting Drummond has a one-year deal with the Sixers. He was bought out by the Cavs last season, then averaged a double-double for the Lakers. Now, this might have been almost 3 years ago, but Twitter has the receipts. Now his current teammate, Joel Embiid, tweeted at Andre Drummond that he owned real estate in his head. Again, that was back in 2018. It's going to be an interesting dynamic and one that Philly Sports Radio will enjoy dissecting this summer. As for the team, Drummond is leaving the Lakers. Ready for this? Yesterday, they had 5 players on the roster, now 13. Talen Horton-Tucker re-signing on a 3-year, $32 million contract. The 20-year-old averaged 9 points last season and a 2-year deal with former Heat guard Kendrick Nunn. Woj reporting he turned down more money for a title run with the Lakers. And, of course, earlier as we reported, they added Carmelo Anthony, giving them 2 of the top 10 scorers in NBA history, but when you make that list, it means a lot of wear and tear and a lot of birthdays. According to Elias Sports Bureau, the Lakers have never rostered 4 35-year-old players at the same time. As it stands now, they have 5, and 8 over the age of 32 as well. Horton-Tucker and Nunn helping to bring down the average. Holy cow. NBA front office insider Bobby Marks joining us now. What stands out to how the Lakers are adding this type of depth here on a potential championship run in the offseason?
Yeah, I think it's 2 things. I think they check the boxes for regular season depth and also for playoff depth. And when you added the 8 players to what was already here with 5, players here with certainly with Russell and LeBron and AD here. Today was about the youth movement, right? Yesterday was about, players like Trevor Ariza, Dwight Howard, Wayne Ellington. Today was all about the youth movement. And I think when you're looking at players like, Kendrick Nunn is not on here, but players like Kendrick Nunn, who's on here, he's probably on the shooting guard. He's probably on the shooting guard list. Kendrick Nunn there. We had him projected at $11 million. As Woj just said, he turned down more money to come to the Lakers, signed for $5 million. Malik Monk, we had him projected at about $8 million. He comes to the Lakers for the veteran minimum exception. Wayne Ellington yesterday. My only concern is Nunn, Monk, and Ellington a combined 30 playoff games in their career. So a little bit of a lack of playoff experience there, but they've got some depth now. Now it's all about keeping the big 3 healthy.
Right now, the roster has 5 future Hall of Famers when you look at it, when you talk about Dwight Howard being added to Carmelo Anthony and this group right here at the top. Meanwhile, another big deal in the NBA today. DeMar DeRozan to the Bulls, sign and trade. Woj is reporting he'll sign a 3-year, $85 million contract. The Spurs will get the expiring contracts of Thaddeus Young and Al-Farouq Aminu, a first-round pick in 2 seconds. A lot is moving on in the East here. Sixers have not moved a lot. The Nets have just kind of quietly adjusted. But yesterday the conversation is the Heat making moves. How do they stack up against the Bucks and the Nets? Now, when you look at the moves the Bulls have made in the last 24 hours, how do they stack up to these teams in the East?
I'm not ready to put them up there with the big boys yet. Yeah. I still think they're kind of that tier 2 team, maybe with a team like New York. Atlanta in that group there, probably in that 4 to 6 range here. It's interesting with DeRozan. We talked about him yesterday. Maybe he would go to Miami for the mid-level exception, $9.5 million. 3 years, $85 million, fully guaranteed. And what they were able to do, it's a sign and trade with San Antonio. Players like Al-Farouq Aminu, Thaddeus Young, that works. You send DeRozan back into there, and that's your roster there. Now there's work to be done. 8 players under contract. They've got 6 roster spots. The big question is, can they bring Lauri Markkanen back, who's a restricted free agent? But you've got to like a starting lineup with, certainly with Lonzo, not LaMelo, Lonzo, DeRozan, Zach LaVine. Remember we talked about renegotiation. Will it make Zach LaVine happy? I think it will, and certainly Nikola Vucevic. So they've done a really nice job over the last couple days here. But as I said, there's still some work to be done.
And let's not forget the Spurs are going to get a first-round pick and 2 second-round picks. But Vucevic was the shocker that we saw at the trade deadline. We thought the Bulls were sellers. It's a completely different attitude and mindset now that they brought in Vucevic during the season, adding some other big key names here. We'll see how this plays out for Billy Donovan as the East gets better and better.